Hi everyone, I recently made this blanket in diagonal box stitch, and I've had a few people ask me how you actually do the stitch, so I thought I'd do you a short video on how to make it. I won't do the whole blanket because obviously that will take a long time, but once you know how to do the stitch you can do a square blanket or a rectangle too. You'll sometimes find it called the C2C, which is corner to corner. So either diagonal box stitch or C2C. And if I just go in, you'll see what a lovely effect there is. Here, the little squares sit on top of each other, and you actually start in the corner and it grows bigger and bigger to the size you want really. And as I say, if you want it to be rectangle, you simply stop decreasing on one of the edges. But we'll come to that later. I'll show you how it's done. I did this blanket in variegated yarn and white just to give this double effect on the corners, and I think it looks quite nice. I finished it off with a little ruffled edge. So we'll go and I'll show you how to do the stitch. I'll show you in this plain yarn, so hopefully you'll be able to see the stitches. There's only 3 stitches used, which is slip stitch, chain and treble. If you're in the US that's double crochet. So when I say treble, if you're in the US you do a double crochet. So to begin with we need 6 chain. There's a 6, and into the 4th chain from the hook we do a treble. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And treble stitch, and then into the next 2 chains do 1 treble in each. So that forms a little block. You've got the 3 trebles and then that turning chain there. Now if you can just bear that turning chain in mind, you are going to use that again soon, so just try to remember where it is and it might help you get your positioning. So next, for the next block, we again do 6 chain. Do exactly the same again. We do a treble in the 4th chain from the hook, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then 1 treble in the next 2 chains. So now you've got this piece with your first little block there, and you've done the 6 chain, turned, done a treble in the 4th chain from the hook, and then 2 trebles. Now that little chain space that I mentioned earlier, which is here now, you just simply lift it up like that, so it's up level with your hook, and into that space you do a slip stitch, then 3 chain, and this is going to make the next block, so 3 chain and then 3 treble, all in that chain space. Oops. And now you've got 3 little blocks, and then we do exactly the same again. We do 6 chain, treble in the 4th chain from the hook, and then 1 treble in the next 2 chains. Again we're going to turn up, bring in that space in that block there, that little 3 chain space, if you can see it there, up in line, and we're going to slip stitch into that, 3 chain and 3 trebles into it. Might look complicated, but once you get into a rhythm with it, it is really easy and it grows really fast. So now this time that space is already waiting for you, it's already turned, so you don't have to turn it up. So we just simply slip stitch into that, 3 chain and 3 treble. There you've got the starts of your block. So you've got your first row, and this is where you started in that corner, and you can see how the blocks, that one is horizontal and then these are vertical, and it gives this nice basket weave effect. So I'll show you it once more. You can always skip this bit if you already understand. So we're doing 6 chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Treble into the 4th chain from the hook, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. Remember it's a double crochet if you're in the US. Another treble in the next one, and one in the next one. And then it's time to flip it up again, so you flip up, so the next block with that little 3 chain space is there up at the top, if you can see that. Slip stitch into it, work the 3 chain and 3 treble. Then again this block is ready with that chain space already there, so it's only on the first sort of ends where you have to flip it up. Once you're in the centre of the work, the boxes are there ready for you. So slip stitch into it, 3 chain and 3 treble. Again, this one's there ready, your little 3 chain space, slip stitch, 3 chain and 3 treble. So it's just a matter of continuing on like that until it grows that way, and it's as big as you want, and then we begin to decrease. Now you can do a rectangle simply by changing the decreases to only on one side, but we'll come to that in a moment. I'll do a little bit more, I'll make it a bit bigger, and then I'll show you how to decrease it to make the square or a rectangle. But as I say, it makes this beautiful effect. I hope you can see that. Lovely, like a basket weave effect with the horizontal and the vertical boxes. So I've done a little bit more now just to make this small corner. So I shall show you how to decrease and make this into a square. So you just carry on as normal, and when you come up to the last corner that you want to do, you've done your 3 trebles into that little chain space. Now instead of doing 6 chain and making another block, you just turn and slip stitch across the top of these until you come back to the first of the chain spaces. Just slip stitch over there, and you can see this is the chain space here on that block, so just slip stitch into that and then turn the work up ways. Again, it's a little bit fiddly. Do 3 chain and then work 3 treble into that chain space as you would normally do for a block. And then it's a matter of just carrying on as you were before, going in, slip stitching into your 3 chain space, 1, 2, 3 chain, 3 treble, into that one, into your 3 chain space, slip stitch, 3 chain and 3 treble. As you can see there, it's begun to make a flat edge there. So whenever you get to the edge, you simply stop adding blocks. Now if you wanted to make it a rectangle, what you would do at this end, when you got here, would be to make another block. So you would do your 6 chain, make a block and come back down. So you would then continue on until it was the size you wanted. So I shall bring it back up to that top and just show you that decrease again. When you've done that last block and you come up here, ready now to keep that going straight, you simply slip stitch into that last block and then turn, slip stitch over the last one that you've just made, slip stitch into the chain, and then you begin again going back down the steps with a 3 chain and then your 3 trebles to make the block. Slip stitch in again into the next one, where again you'll make another block. So you can see there you're getting this straight edge each time. So you simply stop and slip stitch into the last block that you made on the previous row. And when you come up to the final little piece, the final corner there, it's just a matter of slip stitching into the last one and then that's complete. Now I've got a little confession to make, because in the earlier part of the video I didn't stop and count my little blocks and it was turning into a rectangle, so I've to show you the square I've just undone a row. So it is important that if you want a square that you count that you've got the exact same number of blocks each way before you start decreasing. If you want a rectangle, that's fine, you just keep adding blocks on at one end and decrease at the other end. So I've ended up with this square, and as I say, you can see the little blocks there and they do look nice. You could make small squares like a granny square, sew them together in different colours, or you can go on to make anything as big or as small as you wanted. One tip, if you have limited amount of wool, use 50% for the first half and then use the rest for the other corner, and then you'll know that you've got exactly enough yarn. So I hope you've enjoyed making that. I hope you've learned a new stitch, and if you want to make something and show me, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter. And in the meantime, happy crocheting and see you soon. Bye for now.